early on, a lot of the way that we ended up having money for a lot of these down payments for new properties was, the commission that we earned as a buyer's agent on the properties that we purchased, and we saved that money. And then we used that to be able to put down payments on property in the future. So it helped us be able to help us be able to grow our rental portfolio, which is really more of our long-term goal is, flipping is a great business. You can make a lot of money, but in the end, to create generational wealth, you have to invest in assets that are eventually going to cash flow and pay you back. And you're going to have the benefit of appreciation, the benefit of all the tax benefits.
Welcome to the Real Freedom Show, where we inspire you to pursue your passion to gain time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. Let's get some real freedom together. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Freedom, where we talk about building time and financial freedom through opportunities in real estate. I'm your host, Mike Swenson. If you want to get started with your real estate investing journey, check out our website, freedomthroughrealestate.com. That's freedomthroughrealestate.com. And I'm so excited to share today, we've got a fantastic guest for you. We've got Bradley Dorsey. He is the host of the newer podcast, for those that are listening to this right as it airs, newer podcast, Flip My Future, former real estate agent and contractor turned successful house flipper and investor, along with your wife, being able to do that, bought and sold over $50 million worth of property in 5 years. And so certainly you've got a lot to share and discuss, and happy to dig deeper in. So welcome to the show, Bradley.
Thanks, Mike. I really appreciate you having me. Again, I love all things real estate, and I'd love to share my knowledge and help as many people as I can through the process.
Just start with a little bit about your background and kind of how you got into the real estate space.
Sure. Yeah. I'll try to make it kind of quick, but basically, I originally got interested in real estate at a very young age. I grew up in Texas in a construction business. My family, they were entrepreneurs. So kind of had that whole entrepreneurial, spirit early on, but we were mostly in construction, and we were working with a lot of other investors, and other people were flipping property and having rental property and everything. I love that idea. And then I was like 15, and I was watching a late night infomercial at the time. And my mother was there. I still lived at home. And it was Carlton Sheets. And he was basically talking about how you can buy property, no money down, like all of this stuff about all the amazing aspects of real estate. And I convinced my mother to purchase the thing for me. I think it was like probably $500 or $600 to purchase literally cassette tapes at the time. And I was 15, and I'm like, how am I going to be able to do anything? But I just had that real estate bug early on. And then I got married like in 2000, and my wife and I purchased our first property to live in. And I just really quickly, I'm like, we lived there about a year. And then I told my wife, I'm like, what if we just like put a for rent sign in the front yard and see if somebody rents it, maybe we can keep it as an investment property. So we did that, and we put a for rent sign, literally rented it the first week. I was super excited, but we had no place to go. So okay, now we've got to really quickly find another property. So we found another property and kind of did the same thing a few times. So I ended up having a few rental properties in Texas pretty early on, I was pretty young at the time. I was like 19, 20, 21. So that was great. But I basically, I had kids, life happened, and I kind of got out of it for a while. I just was like focused on working as a contractor for other clients and other investors. And honestly, at the time, I think that I just thought that you had to have, millions of dollars to be a house flipper. And like, I just didn't know where to start at all. So I didn't even try. And then it wasn't until I was working as a real estate agent, and I moved out to Los Angeles in 2011. And I was primarily working as a contractor in Los Angeles too. And then I went through in 2017, unfortunately went through a really bad divorce, had 5 kids at the time, and pretty much lost everything. I lost my rental property in Texas, like completely had to start over. And I'm remarried, and I met my wife in 2018. We got married in 2019, and it was crazy. She just happened to already be a real estate agent in Los Angeles. I was a contractor. I was a real estate agent. We got married in 2019. We were in Cabo on basically our honeymoon, and we just started talking. We're like, what if we just like try to do this ourselves? We're like, we don't have any money. We don't know how we're going to do this, but we started making offers on property, and we got our first property under contract 2019. Since then, we primarily focus on doing fix and flips. We currently have multiple vacation rentals. We own a hotel in Palm Springs that we're doing a multi-million-dollar renovation on right now. But the last 5 years, we've bought and sold over $50 million worth of property. And we love real estate. And now we're also trying to help other people be able to start, investing.
Sounds like a real estate love story. Contractor meets agent and they build a portfolio and live happily ever after, right?
So what's funny is like, so we actually met online. It's kind of a crazy story. I never thought that would work. But my profile, I didn't say I was in construction. I didn't say I was in real estate at all. And my wife, I knew she was an agent like early on. So we were talking back and forth. We started dating. She didn't even know that I was in real estate at all. I'm just going to keep this on the lowdown, like not say anything because I thought it was really cool. But I'm not looking for somebody that has to be in the same business that I am. Right.
Yep.
And so it wasn't, I mean, honestly, we thought she was going to kind of work as an agent and I was going to continue working as a contractor. And it wasn't until that honeymoon trip that we were just like, well, what if we try, and do this on our own? And I think that's one of the things that we want to share with people now is that you don't have to be a multimillionaire. You don't have to have tons of money to get started in real estate. There's ways of partnering with other people and creating, joint venture partnerships. And just there's ways of bringing somebody else in that can add, maybe they have the money and you have the time to find the property or, or maybe you know about renovation and they don't know about renovation, or maybe they have a full-time job, but they have money to invest in a project. There's ways of starting literally without any money up front.
Yeah, I normally talk about, the best example I ever heard was think about it like a three-sided triangle: time, money, and expertise. And, what do you have to offer, and finding something that's kind of lacking in those spots that you have value. And so for a lot of people that want to get started, they may not have a lot of money. So find somebody that has money and you have time, and you're probably going to build expertise, right? Or at least kind of build up a track record. But there's really, partnerships are born out of kind of the yin to your yang, right? Like finding somebody that's a fit, maybe where you don't have skills, or you just have to learn and grow together. And I think that's the challenging part for those folks, me coming from residential real estate and then getting into investing. Sometimes real estate agents, especially ones that aren't investors, they just think in this box, right? Like, here's how a transaction's supposed to go. And people that come from outside of real estate and get into investing, they're so much more creative. There's so many different options of how to do it. And residential agents have a hard time getting out of that mental box of, well, this is how it's supposed to go. We got earnest money and we do this and we do that, and it's a traditional transaction. It's like, no, it's actually all these other things that you can do. There's so many different levers. But as residential agents, sometimes it's hard to get outside of our own head.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, at this point, that's what I can't imagine if we had just kept going on, just working as a contractor, just working as a real estate agent, working with other investors. There's just so much more potential. And being an agent, you can be very successful. Nothing wrong with being a real estate agent. I think it is beneficial. I don't think you have to be an agent to invest in property. I think there are benefits to it. And that's one of my things now is like, I want to be able to share with other agents that already know the terminology. They know how to run comps. They know how real estate works, and work with those people and partner with those people to help them learn how to invest in real estate and get started. So it's not just about commission, like you can make the commission, but you also can make profit in the end when you sell the property as well.
Yeah. And I think agents have all the tools at your disposal, right? You've got the access to the information. You've got the connections with other vendors. Now, maybe it's not people that or you might work with more traditional lenders or that sort of thing, but you're used to calling up people and building relationships. And so finding those vendors that fit what you're looking for, like all those tools are there, and agents are just sitting on a gold mine. And so many of them just don't do anything with that opportunity.
Yeah, it's so true. And I think, even now, like not everybody knows about the whole changes with the commission, but there's a huge change that's about to happen with all realtors. I'm sure you know about it, but basically where buyer's agents are not going to be paid necessarily by the seller, or at least it's not going to be marketed or advertised in advance that way. I think that's going to cause a lot of agents to not be able to stay in the business because there's basically no guarantee that you help a buyer, you're going to get paid. So I think that's a disadvantage to agents. But, for me, like I want to be able to share with those people that are already working as buyer's agents, use your skills and learn how to obviously pivot and do whatever we have to do to still work as agents and be successful. But there's also other opportunities out there. Use your skills that you have as an agent to work as become an investor and start being one of the people that actually own the property as well.
I think find ways to slowly build a portfolio. And yeah, maybe you don't have the money and it takes a little bit of time, but you're at least investing in your future by building equity or building cash flow. And then, yeah, you're not solely relying on commissions, but you're building up other things as well.
Like I'm a strong believer too. And this is one of the ways that we were able to accumulate more funds early on. Like we originally partnered with somebody that had money when we didn't have it. And we did a joint venture. We basically split 50-50 profit with them, which ended up working out really good. And they kept coming back wanting to invest with us over and over. At this point, we primarily use, hard money funds and also private lenders. So we don't always do partnerships anymore. But early on, a lot of the way that we ended up having money for a lot of these down payments for new properties was, the commission that we earned as a buyer's agent on the properties that we purchased, and we saved that money. And then we used that to be able to put down payments on property in the future. So it helped us be able to grow, help us be able to grow our rental portfolio, which is really more of our long-term goal is, flipping is a great business. You can make a lot of money. But in the end, to create generational wealth, you have to invest in assets that are eventually going to cash flow and pay you back. And you're going to have the benefit of appreciation, the benefit of all the tax benefits and stuff like that. So,
yeah, I was curious to learn a little bit more about those early days. I think that's what stops people at the beginning is they don't think they have enough money and they're not willing to go find it. Like, it's okay. You have to be willing to, in this case, I wouldn't say be dumb, but as you're learning something new, like you have to suck at the beginning. You have to be willing to go through that period. And I remember having conversations with people that want to get started in investing and they say, well, I don't have the money. And I'm like, well, why don't you go find some properties that might be a fit for you, talk to a lender and figure out what it's going to take to get that property, and then go to somebody and say, hey, here's a potential property, here's what I might have. And you have to start conversations, but it takes time to build those relationships with people. Maybe you're lucky to have some family or friends that are willing to invest, or it takes time to build and develop relationships to go find those people.
yeah, as you know, this business is all about relationships, and it's incredibly important that you, in the beginning, even before you get started, but like build your team, right? It's finding inspectors. It's finding, if you're not a real estate agent, find a real estate agent that has experience working with investors and understands the type of property that you're looking for. Very important. But one of the amazing things to me about real estate is like, if you find a property that has potential to, make a profit, whether it's going to be a cash flowing property as a rental or whether it's going to be a flip, what's amazing is if you find a property and get a property under contract, there are going to be investors that want to partner with you on that deal, because that's one of the hardest things is finding the property. So people literally will come out of the woodwork to fund that property because they're able to use the property as collateral too, right? So there's actually a physical, tangible asset that they can attach a lien to. And, it's a pretty secure investment for somebody else. They can make a high rate of return on their money. So there are other people like us. I would do the same thing. Somebody else brings me a property, if it's in a different state, even I would be interested in investing with them and partnering with them on the property, because that's the hardest thing is finding the property.
Well, I think too, don't sell your value short. If you find a great deal, you have something of value. And there's lots of people out there that are maybe outside of the real estate industry, want to invest in real estate and don't have the time to do it, don't know how to find a great property. And so you bring a lot of value by finding a property and managing it, maybe the executing on the strategy, playing general contractor, whatever that might be, if you're going to flip it or whatever that might be. So don't sell your value short. There's people out there that want to do a real estate, but aren't going to take the time or don't have the time to do it. And if you do have that time, that's where those relationships start.
100%. In the beginning, I think it's a little bit harder, like maybe start with friends and family, people that trust you and that you trust to partner with. But once you do that first property and you're successful at it, it's unbelievable how people, like, at that point, you have even one property, you have a track record, right? And you've proven that you could do something, that you can see the project through and actually make a profit. And there's going to be other people that want to be a part of that. They want a piece of the pie. And it's not that hard to raise money after. I've literally raised tens of millions of dollars off of creating a track record and being credible and being trustworthy, and then also you have partners that work with you that they get their original investment back. They make a profit off of it. They tell their friends. And I've had that happen over and over, where they're actually out helping me raise money when I'm not even having to, because they're saying, hey, I made a really good rate of return on my money. Maybe you should talk to Bradley. You know what I mean? And that's happened over and over. And so it's just like a snowball effect, but it's amazing how it works. And there is just, as you know, so much opportunity in real estate. It's an amazing business. And I can't say enough good things about it.
Talk about some of the types of properties that you guys like to focus on. How can somebody get in there, get their feet wet, get some experience, and kind of do what you did?
Yeah. So, every market's different. So I definitely would say that for your first, especially for your first couple of properties, like try to pick something that's in your own backyard, something really close to you that you can feel and touch, and you can be there and you can walk the property and, work with your team. I think that's very important in the beginning. Later on, I think, you can expand into even other markets as long as you build the right team. But, what's amazing is, like, it's great to get off market properties, and we do get off market properties now. And we spend a lot of money marketing. We do, a lot of different things that we do, mailers, Google ads, all kinds of stuff to get off market leads now. But it's shocking how you actually can find good investment property directly from the MLS. And it's really not that difficult. And I think a lot of people they don't realize how easy it is. Even if you don't have access to the MLS as a real estate agent, there's so many, online websites, Redfin, Realtor.com, Zillow, whatever. There's, as long as you know what to look for, you can definitely find properties that are good investment properties directly from the MLS. That's one thing. I've made hundreds of thousands of dollars from properties in the MLS. We focus primarily on properties that are probably in the 1.1 million to 1.5 on the purchase. It's kind of where we're at. That's just in the market that we're in. Been very successful at that. But we buy properties kind of all throughout Southern California now. We have property from Santa Barbara to Palm Springs. Like I said, we're getting into commercial. We have a hotel in Palm Springs now as well. But it's just, it's not that hard to get started. There's ways to use the MLS to be able to find your first property. And I think the biggest thing is just, letting people know how important it is to take action. In the beginning, my wife and I started going to like local real estate meetup groups, which I think is really good as well. But what I notice is there's a group of people that go to these meetup groups that are very successful. They've done a lot of deals. And then you have another group of people that come every single week. They are super excited and enthusiastic and want to be in real estate, but they just talk and they talk and they talk and they never take action. And maybe they find a property that they think could be a good one, but then they overanalyze it. They wait too long. Somebody else gets the property under contract. So I would say, number one thing, take action, make as many offers as you possibly can on property. There's ways to get out. There's inspection contingencies, there's appraisal contingencies, loan contingencies. There's so many ways to back out. There's really no risk at all. So make offers, get property under contract. Once you have the property under contract, pitch it, show it to other investors that have experience. And, they'll help you get the project funded if it's a good deal.
And just to go back to your point, talking about MLS properties, we had a lot of success with that too. I think, number one, information is more readily available when it's on the MLS. With off-market properties, a lot of times it's hard to get in. Sometimes the sellers don't want tenants to know that they're trying to sell it. And so it's hard to get in and take a look at things. There's maybe more red flags that you have to figure out about. Maybe it's hard to get financials on properties. So we found that too. It's much more of a slog going through off-market deals, where on market, it's like, hey, I need this piece of information. What about this, this, and this? And the agent will call you back because the seller wants to sell it most often. And so they get back to you. So the agent's incentivized to help you as well. So I feel like we can come to a decision much more quickly when it's on the MLS. You see the photos, you schedule the tour, you go take a peek at it. So we found success with on market as well.
Yeah. So there's a lot of different criteria that I use to identify properties that I think have potential really, really quickly. And I can mention a few of them, but I think one of the things that's, about the MLS that you automatically know, if it's on the MLS, a real estate agent has listed it, the seller has already confirmed they want to sell the property, and they've listed it at a price probably somewhere close to what their expectation of what they're going to be able to sell the house for. So, as a buyer, as a real estate investor, you already know they want to sell the house. Pretty much what they're thinking price wise, Yep. So those are two hurdles you've already gotten over. And then one of the ways that I found a lot of our investment property have been like constantly watching back on market property, because these properties have already, basically the seller has already agreed to a price. So the listing agent already knows what the seller agreed to. So that's a huge thing too. So when you contact the agent on a house it was listed, it went under contract, it's back on the market now because, the buyer didn't perform, whatever the reason may be. But the listing agent has so much more inside knowledge of what the seller will accept, kind of where they're at, term wise, they already know all that. So it's shocking to me. It's amazing to me how quickly you can get really like pertinent information from the listing agent. You literally can send a text or a call and say, hey, I'm interested in, whatever address. And just kind of, heard it's back on the market. Just kind of wanted to fall out of escrow. Kind of where's the seller at? Is there some flexibility? And, a lot of the time you'll have an agent call you back or, answer when you call, and they'll like in 30 seconds, they're spilling the beans of, well, this is what happened. And, the seller wasn't happy with this, or they came back and tried to request a huge credit, and the seller's not willing to do that. But here's kind of where we were price wise. Like, it's amazing how much information you can get by making a phone call to an agent,
I love asking open-ended questions, right? They'll say as much as they want, or they'll share more than they want. but just ask a good open-ended question and see where they go with it.
And a lot of the time, these agents, I mean, technically, they probably shouldn't be saying as much as they're saying, but you know what I mean? Like we're all human, and they just kind of open. A lot of the time, they open up and just kind of say what happened with the situation and kind of where the seller's at. And like I said, they already know they already know exactly what dollar amount that seller was willing to accept, which is a huge advantage to us. So then just try to get a little bit information, and then you're able to make a much better, more solid offer based on exactly what the seller's looking for. So that's worked multiple times. I'll just give one example too of I came across a property in the MLS that it had tenants, and that's a whole nother story, a whole other podcast. I've dealt with that a lot. But this property had tenants, and the listing agent, thought that they would possibly they wanted to sell it with the tenants. So I went and looked at the property. I offered them, I actually got it under contract, and then they had agreed to try to get the tenant out. It didn't work. They came back and said, "Hey, we can't get the tenant out." They still tried to get me to go with the property. I just, kind of played hardball. I'm like, "Look, I'm not accepting with the tenants." I canceled the contract. I waited like 2 weeks. I came back to him and said, "Hey, is there any flexibility now? Can we work, something out, whatever?" I literally got the price down like $100,000 on the property. And this particular house was a flag lot. So, basically for people that don't know, you have a house in the front lot, and then you have like a little easement or driveway that goes to a house behind one house. And, I got this house under contract at a good price, and I spoke to some other partners, some other investors, and I was pretty much told by everybody, "Oh no, flag lots aren't good. Don't do it, whatever." And I honestly thought, no, I can create so much value with this property, and I'm gonna pitch it and sell it as an exclusive, like more private, secluded, lot. It had like a gate. We'll do like an automated gate. These little things matter. We purchased the property. We sold the house. We actually sold it to one of the agents that's on Selling Sunset on Netflix right now. So I sold it to somebody else in real estate that's on a Netflix show, Selling Sunset right now, celebrity, right? And that's who chose our house because it was more private, because we did the automated gate and it was a flag lot, whatever. And that particular house, we made like $350,000 profit. So, and this is something people try to talk me out of doing. And it's a house I found on the MLS, so it's just, I mean, you can't always listen to other people, but MLS properties have tons of potential.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "You're the average of the top 5 people that you hang around"? Well, real estate agents, I'm excited to increase your 5 with you. We're launching the Real Freedom Investor Agent Tribe to help you get educated and connect with others to build your real estate investing journey, and also to help you along the way as you're working with real estate investors. So come check it out on our website, realfreedom.com. Go to the store. We have a membership, we have a mastermind group, and private coaching to help you stay accountable to your real estate investing goals and to make sure that you connect with like-minded people to accelerate your progress and to cheer you on along the way. Check it out, realfreedom.com. Click on the store. Talk a little bit about going outside of your primary market, and then even to investing in kind of different types, because you've got a hotel. Talk about kind of how that grows and develops over time when you build that initial skill set of, identifying good properties.
I think for anybody that learns how to flip any property, and I keep going back to flipping just because I think it's the quickest way to make big chunks of cash to be able to invest in a rental property. But anybody that can learn how to flip a property, and you do the first one and you make anything. I mean, you make $5,000, you make $10,000, make $100,000, no matter how much it is, it's addicting. It really is, like it's really hard to go back and sit in a cubicle after that and just be like, because that there's more opportunity out there and that there's potential to make a lot more money a lot quicker. So I think once you get started, you start learning the skill set. For us, we kept just taking, every dollar we made, we were hustling, and we're like, we weren't just hoarding it. We're like, no, let's put it back. Let's reinvest in real estate. Let's put it into another property. So we did that over and over, and, we're pretty successful at it. And then honestly, is like, we started keeping some of the properties, vacation rentals, that all depends on like the location and, being a tourist area and just like where you can even get permits and stuff. But so that worked out really well for us. And then it was just one day we were making good money flipping, and I'm just a serial entrepreneur at heart. I love like creating and being a visionary and a leader. I love that. And just building a team and everything. And so we literally were at church. We went out to lunch after church, me and my wife, in like 2021. And we were just there, and I'm just like, like this has been great. I love real estate, but what can we do that's like, it's still like exploring another business opportunity, but somehow connected still to real estate. And so she started telling me, well, what about like trying to find something in Palm Springs? And I'd never been to Palm Springs in my life. And, she's like telling me about it. And I'm like, okay. So we started looking again, found it, it was on the commercial, like on LoopNet, basically.
Mhm.
But so we found a little hotel. Again, like I love just the whole process. It's a game to me, like negotiating and trying to make something happen. So at the time we had, not a lot of money to purchase a hotel, but we're like, let's do something. And so the next week we went and saw the property and I put a contract on it again, not knowing how I was going to fund it. I really had no idea. And I put the down payment as like between 75,000, 100,000 down payment, which we had made from flipping. Put the down payment and kind of a long story, but basically we only had a few days to try to raise additional money. I didn't know how we were going to. The listing agent came back to us and he's like, hey, I've got multiple offers. Basically remove contingencies. If you can't perform, you're losing your $75,000, right? And so I was on the fence of like, should I do this or not? And I told my wife, like, we're going to go all in. I want to make it happen. And we did. And we raised the additional money after that. And we closed on it. We currently have 4 other houses in Palm Springs, multiple vacation rentals there. The hotel, we're doing a, $2 million renovation on it right now. And I mean, it's just a fun process. I mean, I love everything about it.
Yeah. And I think what's cool is, it's something that was totally different for you. You had to stretch a little bit and you build a new set of skills by doing that, right? Taking different risks, putting different pressure on. And to your point, I often think, well, why would a seller sell to me? And it's like, well, I've got some value, right? I've built up a little bit of a portfolio. I've got a little bit of a track record here of what we've done. And yeah, maybe we haven't done a property this size or of this type before, but I've also done other stuff in the past and sellers are open to that, And so I think sometimes we get in our own way and get in our own head and say, well, they wouldn't ever do that. But the magic happens with when you get it under contract. That's how we got our first larger property. I was talking with somebody and she said, Mike, you just got to get it under contract and then deal with the rest. Well, that's what we did. And we found an investor and we've held it now for almost 2 years. And it all started with just get it under contract.
Yeah, that's great. I love the way you said, just get it under contract because, the person that has the contract on it is the person that controls it. Maybe for a limited amount of time, but you have equitable interest in the property and you get to control it for at least a short period of time. And if you can find an investor in the meantime, like you're providing an opportunity for them, right? And that's part of like raising money. Like a lot of people like think that it's going to be hard to raise money because it's like, well, you're having to ask somebody else for something and, you might get rejected and turned down or whatever, but you have to present this stuff. It's an opportunity. You're literally taking an opportunity, and offering somebody else something where they can make a really good return on the money with an asset that's very secure. It's very low risk, And that's that even with the hotel, that's one of, the first question that I got asked from potential investors and partners and lenders and the listing agent was, have you done a hospitality property before? It's like, no, I haven't. I haven't. This is my first one, but it doesn't mean that we can't do it and be successful. And now what's cool is like after you do it and we're doing an amazing renovation, like it's going to be an awesome property. And you know what? I totally want to get into getting more hospitality properties. And now I'm going to be able to, every time I put an offer on another property, hey, here's another one, major renovation. Look what we did. You know what I mean? And it's just a stepping stone to the next level. And earlier you were talking about, getting into multifamily and syndication and everything. And you have to start somewhere, so start with a small property, start building your rental portfolio, single family houses, duplexes, whatever, flip houses, whatever. But just always, flipping is something that you have to do over and over. So you definitely need to put the money back into an investment that will eventually cash flow and create like a retirement for you. That's how you build generational wealth.
Yeah. Start with what you can do and build and grow from there. I love it. Thank you so much, Bradley, for coming on the show and sharing your story. For people that want to maybe reach out to you and learn more about you, how can they do that?
Yeah, the best way to find us and follow us would be to go to Facebook or Instagram, Flip My Future. That's our handle, or flipmyfuture.com. And it'll have all of our contact information there. I really appreciate you having me on this show. Love to, hopefully we get to work together in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on and sharing with the audience. And yeah, reach out to Bradley if you can and learn more about what you're doing and maybe you can participate in the next hotel. Who knows?
Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
Yeah.